So the third step then in the community-oriented primary care model then is to put some program in place to address that problem, some activities. And again, just like the second step, it can't be your activity, it can't be your program or solution. I can't think of any examples, quite frankly, where the physician comes from the community in which they're working. Geographically, you might live in the neighborhood. We know some of the resident colleagues live right here in River West. And depending on how you define your population, you might be part of it. However, by virtue of our education, by virtue of our income, by virtue of our societal moral authority in which we've been invested, we're going to be not quite like most of the folks in our stated population. Unless you're a stated population, there are other physicians, of course. But most of our community members will be less educated, less wage earners, and will be demographically different. It's just the nature of it. So many times physicians will not be part of the population which they're studying. And consequently, the generation of program activities that would address the health problem must again come from the community itself. The neighborhood's got to be buying into the way in which the problem's being fixed. So you say, well, that's rather disingenuous, because then what's the role of the physician? If it's the neighborhood has to identify the problem, and the neighborhood has to identify the solution, and then really, where's our role? Well, again, our role is more of a facilitator and a coach, a backbone, backstop, if you will. While it might be hubris for us to presume that we'd have the answers to the problems, it's not hubris to think that we have the resources in which to help some of those answers take shape, or by which answers can be bounced off of to see if they make sense. I mean, you know, quite frankly, some solutions will be just wacky. Say, if you want to criminalize the use of tobacco, to return to that health problem. You know, say somebody in the neighborhood, some faction in the neighborhood saying, well, we should make it illegal. We should have some sort of criminal penalties for drug use, alcohol use, tobacco use. Well, you know, as a physician, learned in medical history as well as the social medical aspects of these behaviors, you could bring your opinion to bear. Say, you know, quite frankly, penalizing people isn't as effective as encouraging them and helping them with rehab. And you could then bring out the information and to educate people so that they can make a better choice as to what might work in their neighborhood. So there's a real role for a physician to play, even if it's not naming the problem or naming the solution. It's helping them take shape. And then the next step in this 5-step system is putting measurements in place. Because at the end of the day, we need to know what we're doing is working. Otherwise, we're just whistling Dixie, as we say. Yeah? Meaning you're not doing much. If it's not doing anything, we should stop doing it. And we talk a lot about evidence-based medicine. Well, this is similar. What's the evidence that what we're doing in the community is doing anything? And so having some baseline information as to what the problem is now, and then after the solution is put into play, taking remeasurements, and how is the problem subsequently? Are we improving? Is it going down in prevalence? Is incidence of this decreasing? Maybe even proxy measurements. Are people reporting increased satisfaction? Are people reporting a willingness to change behavior? You know, they can be proxy measurements. They can be measurements of different sorts. But basically, you have to be measuring something to see if what you're doing makes sense and is it working. And then, lastly, you have to reflect this information back on the community. Again, it's their problem, their solution, ultimately their data. And this is where the whole idea of community-based participatory research or community-based participatory action comes in. Is that so often the community physicians working in this way ignore the community in which they're working. I mean, that's sort of ironic, but that's the way it's been. And consequently, the neighborhoods feel a bit estranged. and quite frankly, at times they feel somewhat angry that they've been used, that people have come in, collected all this information about them, gone on to their own personal benefits, but as a neighborhood, they're left to struggle in the same ways before the person approached them. So the information is owned by the people that generated it. And if you've done it correctly, they'll want it because it's something that they have been interested in from the get-go. And once they have the information, again, as a physician, with your technical background in statistics and epidemiology, you can help make sense of the data for them and present it in ways which are meaningful and useful. But it's theirs to do with what they want. Do we continue this program? Do we expand this program? Do we share it with other communities that have similar issues that we've dealt with? Do we ditch this because it's not working and try something else? You know, it's not your call. You're their humble servant, just as you are in the clinic, right? You are a servant to the patient in front of you that's seeking help. This neighborhood is now in need, and you have approached them as somebody who can help, but not somebody who's going to do it for them. And so they ultimately are in charge of their data and their own future. You're just there to help. This is, in a nutshell, a very brief nutshell, the guts of community-based participatory action, or, for our purposes, community-oriented primary care. It's a process. You drop any health topic into the process, you work the process, and out comes your product. So, after residency, you go to live in a rural community, and they're dealing with, say, arsenic in their water. Drop it in on top, work it around, and your product comes out the other side. You go to an urban community, and they're dealing with, say, STDs in their neighborhood. Again, topic is different, process is the same, product is on the other end, specific for that issue. So any population, any topic can be applied to this process, and that's the beauty of it, and that's what we're trying to teach here.